Hades.
Yeah. So, yeah, small talk. It's laziness.
Yep.
So, anyway, we're going to talk about fighting the stay-at-home / lazy dad stereotypes.
Yeah.
And the way I thought about this was I thought of 5 myths that I hear
Okay.
that just get on my nerves.
Yeah.
You know, and you had something you showed me earlier
Mm-hmm.
about this guy in the UK. He
Posted a shirt to
posted
Instagram.
a shirt about like dads aren't babysitters or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Dads don't babysit. It's called parenting.
Yeah.
So
And
that's what kind of kicked this off for me.
yeah.
There's actually I didn't know about it until like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but there's actually a national stay-at-home dad network in the U.S.
Huh.
They had a conference in Charlotte, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it is a bunch of stay-at-home dads, primary caregivers, male. What are they? Yeah, I guess stay-at-home dads.
Yeah.
Work from home dads, stuff like us, basically, what we've both become.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a network or a network and a conference to help support each other and fight the stereotypes, different things like that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. When I had to get a physical before I could officially start the daycare,
Mm-hmm.
and the woman doctor was like just making comments to me like, "Oh, no offense, doesn't that seem kind of weird? A dad doing a daycare?"
Well, no offense, but a woman doctor.
I know. That's what I was about to
Seriously?
say. I'm like, no. I was just like, yeah, well,
I mean, how many of those comments have you fielded in probably the past 6 or 7 months? I mean, even friends like at Squats and Brats last week, and they're like, "Oh, that's
well, I'm not gonna." Sorry.
no." Chris was
Yeah, Chris.
like, that would seem weird
Yeah.
to have
To
a
him.
guy running a daycare,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of stuff you run into. It's like a guy hanging out at the park, with his kids, and you're like, "Oh, my
Looks
gosh,
weird.
He's
Oh,
suspicious."
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think twice about a mom sitting on a bench by herself
Right.
watching her kids. So
Like it's weirder if a dad is there watching the kids than it is a mom on her cell phone not even paying
Not
attention
even
to the
paying
kids.
attention. Yeah.
It's just like, what?
yeah. And how many times I've even caught I try not to catch myself thinking, but I've thought in the back of my head, like when I'm out with my kids on the weekends, people are probably thinking, "Oh, it must be, dad must have the
Weekend.
kids for the weekend,"
Yeah.
or something like that.
Right.
Like the only reason you ever hang out with your kids is if you're divorced and have
And
split
it's
custody
legally
of your kids.
binding. Right.
I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that we face all the time. And I hate to use the term reverse sexism because there's a lot of accusations about reverse racism and sexism and stuff like that. But we face those kind of things as well as guys.
Yeah. He mentioned I don't know the author's name.
I mean, just think about like Meet the Parents. Greg Fokker was a male nurse.
Yeah.
And how much crap he received for being a male nurse.
Yeah.
So
the author in that article said he was at the pediatrician or something,
Mhm.
and the pediatrician said, "Oh, what a nice help!" Like the mom was there, and she said to the mom, "Oh, what a nice helper you have."
Yeah.
Like we're not necessarily just helping; we're part of it. Like
I'm
we're
here because my kid is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just the whole meme of mom's going out of town, better make sure that there's meals in the refrigerator.
Yeah. How
And
long until he calls you?
Here's
and
the number
says,
you can contact me at in case there's a problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it kind of kills me.
Mhm.
So one of the myths I hear is like, or just that's out there is just you can't trust the dad
Mhm.
to take care of the kids as well as a mom.
Mhm.
Like we as men, we just have different styles of taking care of kids. Like I let my kids roughhouse.
Yeah.
Like, and I do say be careful, but if you get hurt, you can't blame anybody but yourself because that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Janie wouldn't let them roughhouse, but I let them, and I let it get out of their system, and
Mhm.
and they're gonna get hurt.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean dads are bad nurturers or whatever. We just have different styles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
And
if they were bleeding and needed to go to the hospital, guess which one, in my house at least, would be the parent to take them there.
Yeah.
Because my wife does not like blood.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, especially facial injuries like bloody noses and stuff like that. So,
one time when Chloe was 2, I was we were playing this game where I would like jump up and do the splits in the air, and she would run through my legs.
mm-hmm.
Well, she did that at a point where it was at a corner of a wall, and I jumped up, and she just went bam right in the corner and like split like right here.
Mm-hmm.
So we took her to the emergency room, but she was fine. They put glue and you know.
Yeah.
Another myth I hear is that dads can't have a special bond with their kids as their moms do. It's like we do. There's some things that men do that children find comforting. You know, we don't always have to say anything. If they get hurt, we just hug them, and we don't ask them what's wrong, what happened, how'd you do this. You know, we just hug them, and at least that's how I do it. I just let them cry it out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. I love to snuggle with my kids, both my daughter and my son. That's great. That roughhousing that you talked about, that's one way that we, that our kids bond with us.
Yeah.
Taking my kids camping last summer.
Have you noticed, like I'll be like in the living room and Janie will be in the kitchen, and the kids, they just like ask her for every little thing. And they never ask me, and I think the reason why is because I know certain things they don't need. Like, no, you don't need any water right now. No, you don't need this. No, you don't need this. Like, she, one time I took the kids out to the library, and she's like, did you pack some water and snacks? I'm like, no, there's a water fountain at the library. Like, you're killing yourself trying to prepare for all this stuff, because if you don't have it, they can't ask for it. So, I don't know. It's just different.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean we're not nurturing them.
Right.
It's just different.
One of the things that drives me crazy, I've got this conference that I'm going to tomorrow, that I leave for tomorrow.
Which conference is it? I didn't even
It's
ask you.
the Thrival CPA Network's annual conference.
Yeah.
So, again, we'll talk about that in our small talk next episode. But one of the things that drives me crazy about that is I have lots of female friends who are CPAs that feel like they can't go to this conference because it would require them to leave the kids home with their dad for 3 days, maybe, sometimes 4 or 5, so depending on how long they stay before or after. And that just drives me so crazy that dads put that kind of pressure on their wives. I think in some cases it's the mom trying to make excuses, not wanting to be away from the kids for extended periods of time. But if it is anything to do with the dads, that's shame on those dads for not being able to handle your own kids for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of stuff at home. If my wife is gone, the house pretty much functions as normal.
Yeah.
So the kids help out a lot. I have older kids, but even when they were babies, I'm trying to remember how old my kids were. One of Sarah's grandmothers were sick up in Pennsylvania, and Sarah ended up going up there for like a week and a half. Yeah. And I was with the kids the entire time. I think they were like 3 and 1 or 2 and 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we did fine. And even now with school, it's an adjustment. I absolutely love having my wife there. It's an extra set of hands,
Yeah.
But earlier this spring, when my nephew died and my wife was out in California, she was gone for 2 weeks. And it messed up my gym schedule because I had to pick up the kids and drop them off and stuff like that. So it's definitely more convenient to have four hands than two driver's licenses rather than one. But we survived and we did fine.
Yeah.
And the kids missed mommy and we talked on the phone and stuff like that, but no more than they miss me when I'm gone. So
right.
it drives me nuts. when the whole thing of I don't know how to cook my kids anything, so I guess we're eating out again or something like that.
That's the sitcom bumbling dad syndrome. Like,
buy some TV dinners and microwave them because that's all I've ever known how to do. So if that's you, shame on you, dude.
Yeah. But I do think we're in, like what you're talking about, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, how just we're getting better as a culture because historically dads are in the picture now than they were, in the 50s or whatever, because they were just pretty much the breadwinners back then, but and never home, or didn't really take time to be with their kids. But now there's all kinds of dads out there on the soccer field or football field, and so it's a good thing.
It wasn't talking to my mom, it wasn't a long period of time, but there was actually a period of time before she came home, quit her job and came home to be a stay-at-home mom. I think there was probably like a year or so where she was leaving for work, actually before me and my brother were even awake. And it was my dad's job and responsibility to wake up with us, make us breakfast, and get us ready for school or preschool or whatever it was at the time. It seems more monumental in my head because it was such a different time for us, but that was back in the late 80s that happened. So
I had nobody.
I would got yourself ready.
I'd wake up, get myself ready, walk to school, walk home from school, put myself to bed. But dads have have just as strong a special bond with their kids as mothers do, and sometimes it goes back and forth. There's some months where Chloe and Caleb just want to be with mom, and some months they just want to be with me, like more with me. So I can't really understand why, but it just is. Sometimes.
Yep. It is that way, depending on what they're facing or what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm lucky too to have a girl and a boy.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with that. I had a brother. So my mom was very close to, well, I was very close to my mom. My brother was more close to my dad because they both shared a lot of similar activities that they like to do. But I've never been around little girls, and I absolutely love my little girl, and I feel like I'm closer to her sometimes than I am to my son. But at the same time, that's not to say that raising him is my wife's job and raising her is my job, kind of thing. So it is just different how people think.
There's also the myth out there that stay-at-home dads are trying to be better than stay-at-home moms. But it's not really a competition. We're just chose to have this lifestyle. So it's not like we're trying to like be better. It's just that's what we're doing.
We could totally.
We could.
Wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a competition. It's like which is the best situation for the family. Yeah. And I think that's the part that is hard. Because I've known guys who are not the breadwinner, who are, we're working at home and we're building jobs and stuff, but I've known other guys who have been out of work, or the wife makes great money and they decided for the dad to be the stay-at-home guy. Yeah. And it's hard for those guys to come to terms with that and to face all the pressure that they have as well, because as guys, we're often associated with what we do more than who we are. Yeah. So, a mom might identify herself as like a mom who works, whereas a dad who's staying at home would probably more identify himself as unemployed or working from home or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting, because when you ask a man, oh, what do you do for a living? They automatically say what their job is, where a woman might not say that.
She'll have lots of different things that she's, Yeah. So, got to fight against that.
Yeah.
Got to push back against it. So
I mean, I think that's what our I don't want to say calling, but
sure,
a part of our purpose is to be good dads.
Yeah.
Like, that's what God intended.
Yeah.
And that I don't. Yeah, I still kind of cringe, or I don't know, cringe when somebody asks me, "Oh, what do you do?"
Mm-hmm.
I say, "Oh, I have a daycare,"
Mm-hmm.
and it's just that 1 second pause where they're just like, you can tell they're just like, "Did your wife do it?" Like that's always the follow up question. I'm like, "No, I pretty much do it."
Yeah, I cringe kind of the same thing when I say my wife is a stay-at-home mom, because I'm already working from home, and so I can hear some of them be like, "Well, what's she need to be there for? You're already at home."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but my job at home is to work from home."
Yeah.
And her job at home is to care for our kids. Kind of, it would be no different if I worked from an office.
Right.
In that situation.
Yeah.
But I do hear people like, both of you are home at the same time? That's so weird. And I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
So I have a job to do during the day.
Yeah.
And that includes podcasting.
Yes. Content creation.
Mm-hmm.
This came to my mind,
Mm-hmm.
like when this kind of conversation does come up with other women, they automatically go, "Oh, so you better take care of the laundry. That's part of the deal, right?" Like, it's just kind of condescending. Like, I don't tell them, "Yeah, that is part of the deal," but because I'm home more, I have more time. I'm here
to do the stuff around the house.
But I will say this, like, a woman, like other women saying, "Oh, you better do that, you better do that," that is just as disgusting as a man whistling to a woman. It's both are disrespectful. You know what I mean? They're both degrading, and it's just like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
I just hate that. Like, yeah, you better do those dishes. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I do
It's
them.
I did my own laundry, and I did the dishes when I was working.
I did it before. Yeah.
Hadoken!